cold at the touch, dead in the eyes, no signs of life no more. I put your love under the knife. Leave me to die here all alone. No signs of life no more, no. But crying dove may never fly. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, 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 oh. Just black and white. Just let me go, it's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. White, white, white. Just let me go, it's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. White, white, white. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, 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 oh. Just black and white. Black and white.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Simracersworld TV. I had no mic there, which makes it a little bit difficult to speak on through, but live we are. Everything working. My name is Hasse. I'm joined by Chaz, Draycott for round 9 of the SRW NASCAR Next Gen Cup Series. The DynamiXX Darlington 170 as we visit the track Too Tough to Tame, as it's indeed called by many fans. A very special track, one of the oldest around, and I think we're in for a treat of a race indeed here tonight. Chaz, it's of course, as always, a grand pleasure having you along as well in the booth. And I know you aren't maybe the most seasoned oval commentator out there, but what are your expectations for the racing, what's about to happen tonight?
Well, first off, it's great to be back on Simracersworld TV for this series. I really enjoyed our little stint together last time out. But personally, I've actually commentated on a race at Darlington before, and I know that this is a very legendary circuit within the NASCAR ranks. There's very little left of the number 68 car that we just saw. But this circuit is very, very difficult. As you'll see here as we watch the number 99 machine of Sam Bentham go into 3 and 4. Look how narrow this place is. That white dotted line is basically the only part of the surface that they're going to be using. That and above. They're all going to have no paint left on the right-hand side of the car by the end of this. And to be honest, overtaking is going to be very, very difficult. There's going to be a lot of cooperation needed over the course of this race tonight. I think it's going to be a bit of a tense affair, to be honest. I don't think we're going to see too much overtaking. This is going to be a bit more of a strategy game, I think.
Very much so. I think we've seen that before on the tracks where it's sort of what it plays to as well. And I do expect you to be very correct on that one indeed. It's going to be one of those that's going to be one long chess game. Just position yourself into the final 15, 20 laps or so. That, I think, is where we're going to see all the fireworks kick off. Anyways, we're going to take a look at the championship standings as well. Matty Sufi leads with a 309 point scored. His name ahead of Hendrik de Grave from Flemish Simsports, of course, and his teammate Kim Behate in close pursuit. Still 20 points, though, separating the two leaders. John Barnes fourth ahead of Austin Gretorix. Adam Wright, John Tusting, Matt Tyler, and then Paul Gosling in ninth, the privateer, ahead of Ian Roots, who's been out for the last few rounds, I'm afraid, and it's a bit of a shame. He had a good run in the championships as well there. Having a look at the drivers further down the order. And of course the team standings as well, where Flemish Simsports have indeed knocked up quite a bit of points. 572, but under 10 points clear on Quantum Racing. So there's very, very much still a fight left to be had in the overall standings teams-wise. With that said, Chaz, I think we're going to have a look at another sort of standings, but in a different, it's an altogether different kettle of fish. In the end, it's the qualifying results.
Yeah, indeed. It's Matthew Sufi, 40 thousandths of a second clear of John Barnes, and that, to be fair, is pretty much how close it's going to get here. It's a very, very difficult circuit to get right, so unlike your sort of Daytonas or your Talladegas where everyone's flat all the time, this place requires a lot of patience and a lot of precision, so the gaps will be a bit bigger than we usually see. 2 thousandths of a second between Adam Wright and Sam Bentham, though. And then Paul Gosling and Rob Lundgren just behind. John Tusting, James Hall and Michael Tyler, the last drivers to set times. And both Flemish Simsports drivers, Kim Behate and Hendrik de Grave, not setting times in the end there. But to be honest, Hasse, with how easy it is to kiss the wall around here, I'd like to say I'm not surprised. Well, I'd like to say I was surprised, but I'm not.
Well, I know
I'll get
what
it the right
you
way
mean.
around one day.
There is a thing, I read up on this as I went through the history of the track and just did a little bit of scuffing about, and I read about on a funny thing indeed that that drivers, when they get a bit of a stripe of paint missing on the right hand side of the car, it said they've earned their Darlington stripes, and I quite like that one. It's also pretty explanatory of what we're going to see tonight here. You talked about it already, and there we go. Sam Bentham with a bit of a kiss. And And you wonder with these next-gen machines that are so slightly more aerodynamically dependent, how much of it a problem is it gonna be for them? And you spoke about, I'm sorry to cut across as well with another question here, which makes it really easy to answer the first one. But is it gonna be a game of strategy or a war of attrition tonight here? That's the question.
I think a bit of both, to be honest. I'm not quite sure which we're going to see more of. These races are always very interesting around here. There is going to be some attrition, I believe. But to be honest, I don't think it's going to be very, very easy for these guys to keep it up all the way through. The pace might vary quite a lot. Once the tyres go off, you really can't put the trust in them because the car will just start to run wide and gradually hit the wall. This is Rob Lundgren in the Phantom of the Opera livery. And you can see he's got half of the front end of the car covered with lovely rose up the bonnet there. And he's going to have his other face covered in wall if he's not too careful, and he does. Massive, massive smack on the left-hand side there. Just shows you how easy it is to lose these cars around here. And to be fair, I've spoken to a number of guys that have driven them, and they've all said the same thing, that they feel a lot more planted, but much like an open wheeler, they don't give you that much of a warning when they're going to go, and when they do, they're gone.
Yeah, indeed, and I think as well what the drivers are struggling with is just that part where you come off the banking. You'd imagine how that upsets the aerodynamics underneath the car as well. And that paired with the fact that it's, of course, a fixed setup for this series, so there really isn't any way to make the car behave sort of more to your liking. So if you like a twitchy machine that rotates, well, I think you're pretty happy with these setups here, but it's they are known for their difficulty of driving, so to say, especially on the limit, because they do seem to go. When they go, they do indeed go, and they go quite hard. But I think... I'm sorry.
I was going to say, it's very sudden as well. You know, these things, they can float sideways a little bit. You can get a little bit of a drift on, but it's not often that you see the guys save them all that quickly. So I'm intrigued to see who manages to sort of carry that momentum with a bit of a sideways slide and who can't quite hold it. There's Kimber Haight in the Flemish SimSports machine, car 86. Love having the details at the bottom for these drivers as well. It's great because we have obviously our ticker at the top, which is the timing tower essentially, which scrolls through showing you all of the gaps every time it refreshes. But it gives us more space to play around and have some details at the bottom of the screen as well. But Kimber Haight in possibly the most beautiful car on the grid, the Flemish SimSports car. There's two of them out there tonight, the other one being driven by Hendrik de Graaf. And I'm wondering whether these guys can come through the field. It's not a massive field for them to make progress on, though, is it really, Hasse? So it's not like in the real world of NASCAR where they get 43 cars each in every race. These guys have only got 10 cars racing them on track.
Yeah, that's true, and it's something we've seen as well, that it is usually possible to come from the back and come through the field, especially with the if you're clever and if you're fast on the pit stops. That's where the difference can really be made earlier in the race. Of course, it can all go wrong so quickly as well. And as you've mentioned already, Chaz, the amount of patience needed on a track like this, not only in terms of racing patience, that you don't go in and battle for every position at every time, because you're simply just going to lose to those who don't, but also in terms of driving patience and being patient on the tires, making sure that they don't drop off the cliff too quickly, because that's going to, as you mentioned as well, cost you a bucket load of time. And it's all just a little bit counterintuitive to a lot of drivers, I think, because it seems so simple. Just turn left, and it's basically an oval. It's not exactly an oval here tonight, but it's relatively close to. And yet, it's anything but simple here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said before, you've got these circuits where you can be flat out all the way around, like your Talladegas and your Daytonas and your other super speedways, and even the iRacing super speedway, which is a hell of a place. If you've not driven around that yet, I sincerely urge that you do. But to be honest, a circuit like this really demands the most out of drivers, and it's places like this that really separate some of the best drivers from ones that maybe have it a little bit easier at other circuits. So we'll have to see. There's a lot that could happen in this one. There's so many variables around this sort of circuit, and the drivers are probably the biggest one at that.
Indeed, Matty Sufi, our championship leader, on pole position, set to take a pole run, and a very good run at points indeed, with Hendrik de Grave in the 87, his competitor for the title indeed, at the end of affairs at the moment, at the start at least. Expect that to change as the race goes along. With that said, we have the field grinning up for the formation lap. It being my first virtual visit to Darlington. It's the first visit of the series as well. It's I've been told that it's sort of similar to Bristol, but it's though it's not really, is it? It's a short-esque track, but it's certainly not a short track in the sense that Bristol is.
And the main difference here is the fact that this is an asymmetrical circuit as well. One corner is longer than the other.
Yeah. Bristol is slightly asymmetrical. This is properly asymmetrical, and that makes it all the more difficult for the drivers to get into the rhythm as well. But just what we're gonna see when the field goes green in a moment's worth of time. Pace car peels off, swings to the left, and it's Matty Sufi in control of affairs. Oh, nicely they're lining up here. And there we are. We're green from the Dynamics. Darlington 170. John Barnes with a good run on the outside. He's going to take that high line. He's just going to manage to keep it under control there. That was full send into the lead from the very get-go there. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, very sketchy moment around the outside. Nearly lost the back end. There's a few lumps and bumps on this circuit as well. It's not a perfectly smooth track. You will see some of them get a massive load of grip as they first turn into the corner, and then they'll suddenly hit one of these little tiny smooth crests, and then suddenly the grip will go away and the car will try and spit itself around. James Hall here in the E-Team Brit car trying to get the better of John Tusting. Nothing quite doing there at the moment, but John Barnes, fantastic start for him. Rob Lundgren's gained a place. Oh no, and James Hall is off and his teammate goes off in sympathy. That's Michael Tyler. Almost ended up collecting him. We carry on racing though. James Hall does not bring out the yellow with that one. Scary moment for both the E-Team Brit drivers there, Hasse. Let's have a look.
Yeah, indeed, first of all, the overtake from John Barnes and the moment through 1 and 2. Oh, it goes right, then left, then a bit right again. And he manages to catch it. And I don't actually think that we No, let's see. Here it is.
Oh, yeah, it's that tiny little crest. The back end just lit up. Tyler losing out as well, of course. That means Hendrik de Grave has now gained 3 places in this race, up to 8th position. As the number 27 car of Adam Wright, currently in 3rd position for BSTV Esports. Looked like a bit of a moment for Paul Gosling as well there in the number 5 car. And we go on board with him now. Listen to these things roar. Fantastic bits of kit, these cars. But you get a real sense of how narrow this circuit is around here. It's so scary to try and make a move on the guy in front of you. The race I did here was like a sort of a legacy race, essentially, where we were using the old 1987 NASCAR machines. You can imagine what they were like around here. But look, he's trying to build the power early. He's not quite able to get the run that he wants. They do have a bit of a dirty air effect about them, these cars. It's quite interesting, really, but it's not what you'd expect from a NASCAR. But look, you can see each of them trying to push hard into the corner and then focus on getting the run out. There's a bit of a moment by Rob Lundgren there. Car goes one way, then the other. Is Paul Gosling going to go for a move down the inside? He is. It's not easy to make it too wide around here, boys. And both of them keep it together. But now watch out for John Tusting behind them, because he could take advantage of this as well. This is all going to be about patience for a lot of these guys. Hello, that was close. And John knew it too. He was very much on the left lock there to try and get away from that. But still, it looks like James Hall is actually... Well, he's in the pits at least. He's been there for a while now, so he's going to be a few laps down straight from the get-go here, Hasse.
Yeah. Yeah, so it seems we are on the 7th lap of racing. James Hall 5 lap down. Picked up some massive damage. Question is just when we're going to see him back in action. Here it might be a few more minutes before he's out there. Was that Gosling almost scraping the wall again? Just a few moments ago that he had a moment, so did John Tusting. And it seems to be the thing indeed. The Darlington stripe being picked up merrily here. John Barnes in the lead, and he's setting a merry pace here. He's gained almost a second on Matty Sufi. You did have the edge in qualifying. I wonder, Belgians just playing a bit of a strategic game here, just trying to stretch the tires and take it as easy as he can. He's been really good at it so far this season. It's brought him to where he is at the lead of the standings. So, wouldn't be surprised to see just that type of race strategy from Matty Sufi here as he's being chased down by Adam Wright. Still this 3-car pack of Robbie Lundgren, Paul Gosling, and John Tusting is where the closest action is on track at the moment.
Interestingly as well, the two Flemish Sim Sports cars are about half a second slower, even more than that actually, than John Barnes and Matthew Sufi, so they're not really on lead pace. Second fastest on the road is Adam Wright, then Sam Bentham at the moment. They're both quicker than Matthew Sufi. We're only talking a couple of hundredths of a second, like maybe 40 thousandths of a second, but still they're quicker bit by bit, lap after lap. We'll see when they cross the line this time round and see how that manages to work out. Although, no, to be fair, no, it's still a bit of a stalemate there. The top 4 are considerably faster than the guys chasing them down. Hendrik de Graeve and Kimber Hay. Oh, there's a kiss. There's a kiss for Rob Lundgren. And through down the inside goes Gosling. Lundgren sends it in hard. Stays too wide, tries to cut down on him, has to correct. Is he going to go in the wall again? That was so close by Rob Lundgren. They're both getting out of it. They're both giving plenty of room. This is what we're going to see. A lot of respectful racing here by these guys. None of them want to go in flat out in case they run wide, but look at the way these cars wobble around on the way in. Somehow Lundgren holds on. Gosling now stuck in the middle of that fight and can't seem to break out of it. What I was going to say is that Hendrik de Graeve and Kimber Hayes are not quite on the pace of the cars ahead. They're a good 6 to 7 tenths off.
And that's a little bit of a surprise. Maybe they haven't really been able to find the groove here so far. And it might turn out to be costly. It's either that or they're taking a really careful and slow approach here at the opening stages of the race. Just staying together, making sure they have the rubber underneath them to push later on in this opening stint. But they are already 12.5 seconds down on overall leader. So it's coming up to half a lap here on John Barnes, who's really flying at the head of the field here, Chaz.
Yeah, 1.9 seconds clear out front to the 29.7 last time round. 29.6 for Adam Wright, albeit 6.8. So, again, only a couple of thousandths of a second different to one another. But still, he's getting away from Matthew Sufi lap after lap. On to lap 15 he goes. It was a 29.6 for him last time. 29.7 for Sufi, 29.7 for Adam Wright. And then the rest of the drivers are over 30 seconds. So, nobody challenging John Barnes at the minute. The Quantum Racing machine absolutely flying. His teammate has got past Paul Gosling. John Tusting now into 6th place. And this is how it happened. Lundgren has a moment. Nothing that Gosling could do there. And Tusting takes advantage. Oh, and gives the wall a smack for good measure. Nearly loses a place himself. It's all starting to take its toll already here, Hasse.
Absolutely. So we're on lap 16 out of 170 to do here, and it's gonna be a tough one to get through to the end. There isn't gonna be any paint left on those cars' right-hand sides if they continue on like that. Gonna see.
Definitely not. Oh, look at that. Sorry.
Huge.
Look at that run by Gosling.
Huge run. I was just about to say that's a massive run. I think a little bit of a moment as well for Robbie Lundgren. Just says a bit about just how hard it is to actually get past here. You really have to commit. And even if you commit, you're too wide in spaces where there's hardly even enough space for 2 cars. Means that it's a tricky deal as well. Here comes the run from Paul Gosling up the inside on Robbie Lundgren. I don't think the Swede will be able to hang on to it this time. Gosling on the low side. But we've seen the swing around there on the high side before, so it's worked out for Lundgren before. I don't think it will this time. Let's see, here he comes. Oh, synchronous touching of the wall there for Lundgren. Then a bit of a twitch, and they almost touch.
Oh,
no.
and another touch. These cars are sturdy. You've got to give them that.
Absolutely so. Well built. Let's get a bit of a closer view on proceedings here, because this is good action nonetheless. Tell you what, Chaz, the Flemish cars have been led right into this battle again. And Paul Gosling, as he's sitting there, I suspect is getting ever so slightly frustrated that he's finding it so difficult to find his way past on Robbie Lundgren here.
Yeah, he's been trying for a while now.
Oh!
Oh, well, hello. That's going to wake him up. And look, here come the Flemish guys. Thank you, that's one. Is it going to be 2 for Hendrik de Graave? No, it's not. Oh, there's cars off. Cars off behind John Tusting and Kimber Haight. Both off the circuit. Both off into the wall hard. And webcam HD XYZ obviously recommending certain things which we're going to get rid of. Thank you very much in the chat. But, well, that means Michael Tyler goes through. Easy as pie. Thank you very much. But Kimber Haight and John Tusting off in complete synchronized way there. I think it's one of those circuits that if you do have to adjust your line or even just make a difference to what throttle you're putting on or overcorrecting on the exit, if someone else has had a moment in front of you, it's very easy to throw it off a circuit. So there's Lundgren and Tusting both going into the wall together. Lundgren then comes back down the road there. Suddenly the car gets grip. Gosling has to get out of it. There's another kiss of the wall.
I think we're even we're a bit early on in here, because Gosling then sort of comes through.
You can hear them all on reduced revs as well.
Here's the part where I think they make contact. Yes, indeed.
Oh.
Then we'll quickly swing back and see what happened to Kimber Haight.
So Kim's down the inside. Gosling goes through, and then
Tusting just comes down on him.
Yeah, Gosling just come down a bit. I don't think he expected the overlap to suddenly appear there. And we've stayed green, which is one of the interesting parts of this.
Yeah, that seems to be... I think it's because they so quickly go underneath that white line that it's considered that they're on the apron, they're off the track in turn, and that makes it... avoid the caution. Now look at this gap for the lead here, Chaz. That was massive last time we saw it around. John Barnes has had his advantage cut down to 0.4 of a second. Adam Wright still right there on it. Then Sam Bentham around 8 seconds back now. De Graave has gone through, and he's now chasing Lundgren. He's gone through on Paul Gosling, and is certainly seeming to carry a little bit more pace about him. He did on the opening laps of the race. He might be settling into his rhythm as well.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, the lead gap is the bit that confuses me at the moment, because it was clearly 1.9 seconds before. Easily as well. It was a big old gap. But now, I'm just looking down at the timing here, and I can't figure out where he's done that. He must have been held up by somebody. He's not been... Was there any traffic for him? I don't think there was there?
I don't think so. No, here comes the Graave, by the way, on Robbie Lundgren. The Swede is a tested man, being tried upon at every opportunity for tonight. Seems to be slightly off the pace of the competitors, but he's doing a freaking job of defending himself. And as such, he's holding on for now. Adam Wright, though, looking really good. We're going on board with the BSTV Esports driver.
great to ride on these cars around here. Fantastic pace from them all. But this really is closing up at the front end here. Adam doing a mega job so far in third position. Right behind Matthew Sufi, who's right behind John Barnes. It seems like they're just closing and closing and closing lap after lap. Look at that there, though, the pace difference around turns 1 and 2. Kimber Hate's got 8.5 minutes of required repairs, unfortunately, so he's going to be in there for a while. But these guys now suddenly becoming the ultimate pace, and you can see John Barnes is pushing hard, running wider and wider and wider each time. These V8s rev so high indeed. Over 9,000 RPM at the red line. Adam Wright just there or thereabouts at the moment, isn't he, Hasse? It doesn't look like he's trying to make any sort of initial attack on the guys in front of him. He's just sort of staying in their mirrors and just piling that pressure on subconsciously.
He's taking that patient approach that I think could lead to victory today. Alongside Matty Sufi, with John Barnes sort of trying to run on early days here. I wonder if they're even going to try for the pass. They know they have the pace, and if they suddenly feel too held up, they can go for it later in the stint. But I think they will be relatively comfortable sitting here. But John Barnes, I think, had a big old moment there. He was way down on the apron, and here goes Sufi on the high side. And if that was intentional or not from Adam Wright, I'm not quite sure, but he did indeed go past. And we're going to have another look at that one.
Interesting moment of the race. Very, very interesting indeed. But Adam, well, he was there to take advantage when he needed to, and it certainly worked for him, but I'm not sure he was quite expecting that, to be honest. Here's further down. It's Gosling going past Agrava, who's in the wall, in the wall, in the wall. And Kim has confirmed that they tried a strategy of starting at the back to play it safe. But quite the opposite effect right now, I'm afraid, isn't it?
Seems safer to be at the front to me at the moment, but a lot of slugging on here at the back. Victor Chiavigo gets through again on Paul Gosling. You wonder if that's going to hold. Certainly going to give Robbie Lundgren the opportunity to steal some time back out ahead. John Barnes now with Adam Wright, and Sufi ever so slightly off on the back of the trio ahead here. Still well in the slipstream, but he doesn't want to fall too far back, I think, if you want to keep at least some kind of pressure on the drivers ahead. It begs the question as well, Chaz, if it was a slight moment or a mistake from John Barnes that made the gap close out, or if it's all on the pace there. I think, look at his right hand side, yeah, it does have quite a bit of a scrape there, doesn't it?
Does indeed. The big Mancunian lad, John Barnes from Manchester, up near me, that northwest of England. We train him up tough up here. That's what we always say. And John, it looks like, has tested out that car to be a tough nut as well. Although he's training it even more there, scraping more of the Darlington wall. Adam Wright looking like the favourite at the minute, if you ask me. The black and green machine keeping it nice and tidy. Matthew Sufi dropping away a bit. I wonder if there's any damage from these guys having these occasional hits and kisses against the wall, because they keep getting them time and time again. Surely that's got to add up to something in the end. Adam Wright so close to the wall, but still not hitting it. Sufi's just watching these guys sort of drive away as things stand. It's not an easy time for him, but he's got to remember that he does lead the championship. However, he's lost 2 places in this race. Hendrik de Grave's gained 6. So damage limitation by Hendrik right now, isn't it?
Yeah, he did try that coming from the back strategy. The problem for de Grave is that he's almost a lap back on the 3 leaders, which might complicate things in terms of getting further up the standings. Although, having said that, it's not going to take a lot of required repairs for anyone to drop way back in the field here with lap times underneath 30 seconds. I was about to say even at this point of the race. That is not entirely true. We've crept over the half-minute mark, but there's the lap times that are sitting right around there. We're nearing lap 40. The 170 we've got to go for tonight here. And of course, our week's sponsor is DynamiXX Race Simulators. There is a link to their webpage in the description below, which I strongly recommend you to check out, especially should we run into a caution period or something in that style during this race. Now, back to the race as well. Another touch there for Barnes. And Adam Wright is looking for the lead now. I think John Barnes is really beginning to feel the pressure here.
Yeah, he's had one hit too many into that wall now. That car is walking wounded. And I think Adam has got him in his back pocket right now. He's been so patient so far, has Mr. Wright. And he's just going to have to continue to be a little bit more patient. John's putting the car in the middle of the road, but he's feeling this pressure from behind. Trying to brake as late as possible, carry as much speed as he can. Adam just not able to get the move done yet. To move further down, Hendrik de Graaf is slowing down. Hendrik's slowed down a lot. Not quite sure why. There he is. I think he's been in the wall and hit something there, Hasse, because he's lost a place to Michael Tyler and a lot of time in the process. Oh, and that's painful. He has to get out of the way of Sufi so he can lap him. Oh, dearie me. Here it is. Oh, he's hit the wall. I know it's taking him down as well to the right. Sorry, to the left-hand side. He hit it hard. And he's had to slam on the anchors to make sure he didn't have a bigger accident there. Nightmare for our championship contender.
Absolutely so. You can see the front end of the car isn't looking too good.
Very grumpy looking, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And most of all, I'd be afraid that's caused any damage to his radiator. Oh, and another touch of the wall there for the Graaf, who's certainly been thrown out of it. Up ahead, John Barnes, still with Adam Wright on his tail. Gotta wonder if Adam Wright is just sitting there intentionally, put on the pressure to force the mistakes, to capitalize upon it at a later stage of the race here.
Yeah, that's it. If he can put this pressure early on, then John's going to know exactly what he's got to deal with later on if he does come across him again. But it's certainly Adams to lose right now, if you ask me, because John is pushing so hard. Look at the way that the car is understeering towards the wall. Absolute nightmare for him. Just have a look at how he goes through here. Yeah, look, it's pushing up wide. Adam's car looks so angry, doesn't it? That Mustang looks great at the best of times, but the livery on that car as well, the black and green. Oh, as he has a kiss with the wall. Still looking very angry and very powerful.
I think that was his first touch, indeed.
Yeah,
as he's getting closer and closer to John Barnes. You gotta wonder at what point it makes sense to hop in the pits and slam on a fresh set of rubber. They're probably gonna wanna keep running for a bit longer if they can here now. Traffic! Oh, and he thought about it for a second there, didn't he? Adam Wright.
Yeah, he definitely. He sees an opportunity here, does Adam, when the traffic gets about. Now he's tucked right up behind. That slipstream's going to help him even more, but it's not really the sort of circuit where you get that much of a slingshot or any at all from these guys. So it just seems like Barnes is using that high line to his advantage at the minute, but Adam just looks a lot safer a bit further down.
I think I'd say, you said as well earlier, Chaz, that Adam Wright certainly does look like the favorite at the moment to me. Eddie Sufi is 2.5 back. Still with a clean machine, I think, as well. But don't count him out at any stage. That sort of gap will be quickly closable indeed. Now that sort of gap is very quickly closable, and it thought to myself for a second that it might just be happening, but
oh, maybe now.
Again, Adam Wright doesn't find a way through there. There's a touch of the wall again from Barnes, but he somehow manages to peel the car off and make that late apex that sort of closes the door for the run for Adam Wright.
I think Adam is just playing the long game now. I think he knows that they will have to pit at some point. He doesn't want to force the issue too much now and potentially cause himself a problem. So he's just getting on with it. And bit by bit, he is just taking his time in sticking with John Barnes to make sure that he keeps him under pressure. Mathieu Soufi, like you said, quite a clean car at the moment. He had a few hits early on, but in terms of the championship, he's still in a good position. He will be extending his championship lead over Hendrik de Grave, who is in the pits now. Clearly the damage too much to deal with for him. 15-second stop, though. That doesn't say to me that they've fixed much of it. Maybe some more of the mechanical damage rather than bodywork. There's Rob Lundgren, who's going to try and get ahead of him. But these guys are on different laps. He's not going to get ahead of anybody with doing that.
He's been in the pits as well, I think. Yeah, he has.
He has, yeah.
So
for a minute, 56.9 seconds.
Paul Gosling is still in the pits in for repairs. Then Bentham is back out running, isn't he?
No,
I'm afraid.
Bentham is out of this one by the look of it. That's a real shame. The small field gets smaller.
It gets smaller and smaller, Chaz, and by this rate, you wonder if anyone's really going to be left. It's going to look like some of the real-life NASCAR, but once we get way in the... I don't even recall what it's called now. They have this weird system, but this is a touch too much, I think, for John Barnes. And Adam Wright swings past on the inside line. Barnes, I think, is going to pit in immediately after losing the lead, which sort of makes sense, and you can see that Darlington stripe very much in effect there for the 777.
Yeah, it's not quite like he's been hit by the Darlington stripe. It's more like he's been hit by a Darlington tank, to be honest. He's been absolutely railed in the right-hand side as that car. So unfortunately for him, he's going to need to get that repaired, and that might cost him. But attrition may be the determining factor of this race. I mean, we knew earlier on that it was going to be difficult for some of them. Michael Tyler's gained 5 places. Even with his pit stop, Hendrik de Grave has gained 6. And we only had 3 cars on the lead lap as of the previous lap.
That is, I think, the earliest point of any SRW NASCAR Cup Series race that we've seen this sort of standing. And this much spread. It's really been a tough old day out there. And we're hardly even a third of the way through here, Chaz. You wonder if anyone's going to see the checkered flag in the end.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they will, to be honest. Although, to be fair, I think Mathieu Soufi, with the way the numbers are going, Mathieu Soufi might win the championship by default because he'll be the only one left. But we'll have to wait and see because he's currently trying to still chase down Adam Wright. He's kept this gap actually quite well. It's only about half a second at the moment. So it's not like he's completely disappeared off into the distance. But Adam maybe just coming off the gas a little bit now, maybe knowing that he doesn't have to push too much. He's got the pace in his pocket and he knows what he can do. Michael Tyler's up to 3rd place now with 6 places gained after John Barnes has now dropped to 4th. So Michael Tyler going well despite his issue at the very start of the race when his teammate James Hall went off in front of him. He's done a great job in that 96 machine. E-Team Brit always have great liveries on their cars as well. I've seen them in a number of different sims and championships and all sorts. All racing with very amazing determination and fantastic reason behind it. If you haven't heard anything about E-Team Brit, do go and look them up and follow some of their fantastic stories of their drivers and the things they overcome. But there is your race leader at the moment. Adam Wright started 3rd on the grid here at Darlington, currently leading the way. Mathieu Soufi, though, is halved that gap since we last looked at him, Hasse, so this is certainly going his way.
Yeah, indeed, and I think Soufi just has that little bit more left in his tires. He's been looking to treat his machine in a way. He's never really asked the full potential of the car at any stage of this opening stint. And that is really paying dividends, I think, at this later stage. Might just be able to move on and take the lead position before coming in. But I'm not really sure he's interested as such. I think he'll just stay where he is and take this experience on to the later stages of the race. Because, well, he knows that he can come in and be a threat at any stage to Adam, right? And it's very much it's a choice you make, I think, with these cars on these tires on a track like this, of when to push basically and when to use that bit of the tire, so to say, because it will have a price if you push too hard. We've found out for John Barnes as well, who looked like he was flying, and then all of a sudden, both through a few mistakes, but also through that degradation, that the grip wasn't there for him all of a sudden.
Well, yeah, that's it. I mean, you've got Adam Wright now, who seems to be pushing again, because just before Mathieu Soufi came into the pits, as he has just done, the gap had gone back up to a second, and you could see that Adam was slowly getting closer and closer to the outside wall, so it was very obvious that he'd started to push. But you've got to wonder now, was he just waiting for Soufi to get close to the back of him so he could respond and do that? You do get a number of drivers that know they've got the pace in their pocket. They'll sort of hang back a little bit, wait till you get close, give you a false sense of security, and then re-disappear up the road again, and that's exactly what he's done. I wouldn't be too surprised to see Adam Wright come in the next time round, and he is. Yeah, he's actually just coming to the pits now. Sounds like someone's just given another kiss to the wall on the outside. But that now will mean that John Barnes will come round soon to potentially re-inherit the lead. We'll have to see exactly what Adam Wright's done. There's Soufi coming out in front of Barnes and just in front of Rob Lundgren as well. But Rob is a lap down on these guys in 6th place. Clearly quicker, though, because he's going past John Barnes down the inside. There's Michael Tyler making his way into the pits. Adam Wright is on his way out of the pits right now as well. Soufi's going to come through. Is the position going to change? I think it is. Yes, Soufi round the outside. And John Barnes has gone through as well, apparently.
Yeah, John Barnes is well up the road. I think this is John Tusting on the tail of Robbie Lundgren, who switched himself in between the two now, sandwiched between 2nd and 3rd. John Barnes taking advantage of that earlier pit stop. He's really pushed on the last few laps. His best lap, a 28.91, but his last lap there was a 29.4. So, really something of an undercut here for John Barnes, but you have to wonder if he, in the end, is going to go for a 3-stopper, with Soufi and Adam Wright going for 2-stoppers here. I think that might be the case.
Yeah, I imagine so, actually. He's going to try and use that to his advantage.
He's going to have to gain, 45, 50, 52 seconds even, 53 might even be, for this to really work out in the end. And that's a big ask. That's a real big ask in the end. Pushing always comes with its own inherent set of risks as well, which speaks for going a little bit easier on pace and then having a pit stops less. It could be a safer strategy to go for, but we'll see here. Certainly looking fine at the moment for John Barnes.
Oh, is the 86 then getting out of the way, Kimber Haight, with what's left of his car.
Which, incidentally, isn't a lot. It's got a gaping hole at the rear there where there's supposed to be a fender. There isn't really much left. But at least for Behait, it seems that the engine and front end of the car seems relatively unhurt to me, which means that I think his engine is at least at a smaller risk of blowing up at a later stage of the race.
Yeah, he's turned it from a Toyota Camry into a Toyota Corolla, hasn't he? It's certainly the hatchback edition of that car. Although, to be fair, saying that, the back ends of these cars are considerably shorter than the previous NASCAR Cup cars, I must say. You know, they're still quite bulky at the rear end, these things, but because of the curved back end nature of them compared to the very flat rears that we used to have, they do have sort of this very compact back end, almost like a GT car, where most of the cockpit and most of the center of the car actually looks like it's at the back, you know, where all the windows and everything all sort of joins up to at the back of it. It doesn't look like there's much boot space really to go with it, although the back of Kim's car really showing us quite the opposite there, that it is one massive boot. Either way, John Barnes leads the race. He is 9 seconds clear of Mathieu Soufi, who is 2.2 seconds clear of Adam Wright. He's then got a 34-second advantage over Hendrik de Grave, which is over a lap. So the top three are the guys that are sort of locking horns at the moment for this race result, I'd say. And it's going to take a couple of yellow flags and a lot of other shenanigans to change that, if you ask me, Hasse.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's a long way coming back for any of those drivers who's been lapped at this stage of the race. It's going to be hard to see them really coming back, if anything, here. We'll see just how that's going to play out. We're closing in on lap 70. As such, we're also closing in on the halfway point of this race, bit by bit. And as the race goes on, we'll see the strategies come into play. We've certainly seen a race of attrition so far, and I think it's going to become more and more strategic as for who's going to take the win in the end. It's going to be a race of strategy between those three drivers contesting top places at the moment. If they can stay safe out there, of course, that's plays a major part, and it's turned out to be a great challenge here tonight indeed.
Yeah, it's a very different circuit to any of the others that they'll visit as well. Really, really difficult place to get on with. And to be honest with you, I'm amazed that all of these drivers are keeping it as clean as they have done so far. They may have hit the wall here and there. We've had a couple of drivers end up on the inside wall, but it's not as bad as I was expecting it to be, if I'm utterly honest with you. You know, it doesn't say much about my expectations, but either way, I think that they've all done a really strong job at the moment. The guys at the front, this man in particular, John Barnes, while it looked like it was starting to crumble and fall apart for him earlier, he's absolutely on a mission now. He may actually be losing the lead, to be honest, to Mathieu Soufi. It's down to 8.2 seconds, but even still, he pitted earlier, so his tyres will go off earlier. He pitted on lap 50, whereas Soufi and Wright pitted on laps 57 and 58. Hendrik de Grave pitted on lap 45. So there is quite the spread in when these guys have had their respective services. And I think if that does carry on over the course of the race, if some of them try and make their stints longer, that could really shake up the order come the final checkered flag.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. John Barnes is going to have to do something else on his later stints if he's going to stay within a two-stopper. Other drivers are indeed on course for. The gap is coming down. It's come down to 7.3 seconds. And I wonder if John Barnes pitted to have a better clear run of track or something. He's really utilized those fresh tires when he had them to carve out a big advantage here.
Yeah, he's not going to be too disappointed to see that advantage disappearing either right now, because it's not going away that quickly. It's only a couple of tenths per lap, if that really. Mathieu Soufi's then got to worry about Adam Wright behind him, because Adam is consistently faster than him at this moment in time. I think that John Barnes is really the one with it to lose right now. Championship leader Soufi still in second place. He's just going to be focused on getting more points than Hendrik de Grave, because let's face it, that is the main threat to him here, is Hendrik in fourth place. 7 places gained for him, but he's a lap down on the current championship leader. So no matter what happens around him with John Barnes and Adam Wright, Mathieu Soufi just needs to keep his head and make sure he's ahead of the Flemish Simsport driver.
Yeah, and it's so easy to get carried away with a situation like this, fighting for the win, wanting to go for the win and all-out glory and such. If you're in a position to fight for that championship lead and the overall title, it's ever so often the approach that works, isn't it? The professor-esque approach, so pick up the points where you can. And Soufi, to be fair on him, he's done that for the entirety of the season so far. He's won a single race, but he's always been there or thereabouts, always on the podium, if not just near it, to pick up whatever points can be picked up on the day. And he's been, as I said, really, really good at doing that. And our reigning champion, actually, Sergio Hernandez, who isn't racing with us this season, but who is indeed a double SRW NASCAR champion. Well, he used to be amazing at just that as well. And he also seemed to have an ability to just go that a little bit quicker while not putting that extra load on the tires, which we got to see as well. That made quite something of a difference on many occasions. But indeed,
Yeah,
it looks to be the season of Sufi so far here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in this sort of racing, it's all about consistency. I mean, I think it was Kyle Larson just won the Real World NASCAR Cup Series this year. And I think he's the first driver to get 10 wins in a championship since Jimmy Johnson in 2007. Now, if you watch NASCAR, you appreciate how difficult it is to win a race. Honestly, it seemed almost to me like the results were random when I first started watching it in the sort of late to early 2010s and late 2000s. I always just thought the results were random because, you know, the grid was different every single meet and you'd just have the odd few people that were inside the top 20, and that's how they got their points. But for someone like Kyle to go and win 10 races and win the championship is just absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, a few years ago, Kyle Busch decided to race in an Xfinity race near the start of the season at Daytona, ended up breaking his leg in the accident, which meant that then obviously he was out of not just Xfinity, but of course the Monster Energy Cup Series as it was at the time. He then came back halfway through the season and won the championship, which just shows how random those results can be, but also how good Kyle Busch is, even if he is an absolutely massive numpty. But if I'm honest with you, the fact that Sufi has got that consistency as well is why he's at the top of the standings. You know, you've just got to get result after result. You don't always go for the win in races like this. Sometimes you see drivers really risk a bit too much in this sort of racing, and to be honest with you, it's been great to see Sufi have that reserved approach when he's needed it. And again, that's why he's near the top of the standings, or at the very top.
Absolutely. So, lap 79 now for the leaders.
Nearing the halfway point, just about, which will be lap 85.
Absolutely. So, slowly sneaking up upon it. It's going to be about 2.5 minutes away, and those laps creep up on you quicker as well. I'll tell you, my microphone is sort of placed so I don't really see the lap counter unless I sort of twitch my head to the side. I mean, sometimes there's like 10 minutes or so where I might not exactly look at it, and then you look back and it's 20 laps has gone on, you know, and for someone who's used to commentating on road racing, it's where lap times are, well, usually 4 times as long as what we see here. It's just, the laps just fly on. And a bit of a funny one. You get used to it, of course. Sufi, the gap to John Barnes ahead now, down to 3.7 seconds. And then it's sort of the same advantage from Sufi down to Adam Wright. So Adam Wright and Mathieu Sufi at the moment on very similar pace. So it might be slight advantage Sufi, who's at the moment also gaining. He's gaining quite a lot of time on John Barnes in the lead.
Yeah, the gaps are starting to develop a little bit here and there. I think drivers just need to keep their heads and keep those gaps changing, because it's very easy to start getting a little bit closer to the driver in front and think, oh, great, I've got him here. You know, I can do this. I can catch up. And then all of a sudden it just go wrong because, you know, you've got in your own head, you pushed a bit too hard, and suddenly you lose all of that time, or, you know, you start to just lose it back again. You know, it can very quickly go the other way if you push too hard in these situations. So right now it's all about these drivers being in a rhythm at the moment. The lead gap from Barnes to Sufi is now down to 3.2 seconds. Mathieu Sufi's done everything he needs to do. Adam Wright is getting closer to him as well. That's 4 seconds now. Closest two drivers on track are actually Hendrik de Grave and Michael Tyler in 4th and 5th. Hendrik has gained 7 places. Michael has gained 4. So Hendrik sort of slightly coming under attack from him. And over the next few laps, I think he's going to have to keep his wits about him, really. But here's here's Hendrik de Grave, sorry.
Oh!
And, oh no, Michael's been involved in that. It's John Barnes. That's race leader John Barnes. What on earth has happened? I don't think we're getting a yellow for it either. Now, earlier on in the season, when I was commentating on this, I think it was the first meeting I did with you, actually, Hasse, there was an issue with one of the E-Team Brit cars, and I think it was Max Spooner getting involved with one of the race leaders.
Which I think, incidentally, was John Barnes as well. It's not the first time we've seen this. John Barnes leading, and then having some sort of incident with the lap traffic.
Man.
Tipped it into the pits.
See whether we can get back to it and see if it was either Michael not knowing John was there or John just having a moment himself, because we've seen a number of drivers just make the odd mistake when there's a car in front of them. You know, that you adjust how you come off the corner. You're maybe a bit more on the throttle or less on the throttle.
And we can't even get a proper view. Ray just watching here. No, I don't think so. We've had a problem here with Kimby Haight as well. Ooh.
That's the engine's gone.
That's
on
the
that.
engine's gone.
Oh, and
yeah.
it snatched a gear. It snatched a gear and then it spun around. I wonder how far is that before John had his moment. I imagine quite a while, because Kim has dropped down quite a lot since then. But that is an absolute nightmare for John Barnes, leading this race pretty convincingly. You know, the gap was coming down to Sufi, but he was still doing a great, great job. And that means now that Sufi leads the way with Adam Wright in second.
And Hendrik de Graave, though, lap back, he is in third place now. Yeah, it is confirmed, engine gone.
Yeah.
For Kimby Haight. So that's the commentator's curse. And I said, looked like it wasn't too heavily hit on the front end. Well, like, I wasn't being particularly correct on that one. My apologies for either or curse or mistake. Engine's gone for John Tusting too, I'm afraid.
Oh man.
Yeah, so the attrition is really picking up here. And Michael Tyler's going for third.
Intriguing to see what happened in that situation between himself and John Barnes. Like I said, a lot of the drivers, once they've got a car in front of them and they have to adjust how they go into a corner, just have to sort of adapt to what's going on around them. Any slight difference in inputs can put the car off the circuit and into the wall, especially with the way that the crests work here. That was scary there. Michael Tyler down the inside of Hendrik de Graave. Hendrik needs to be careful too here, because he's fighting for a championship at this point. So he needs to maybe just let Michael go. If he's going to be a bit of a loose cannon for him, he just needs to let him go and not worry about having to defend. Sufi is coming up behind them as well to put another lap on them. Now, let's not forget that Sufi is the race leader, so Michael needs to make sure he stays out of the way, and he does that perfectly fine here. Sufi in the wall himself, though, and then Michael in there. Now here comes Paul Gosling to try and spoil the party, but then here comes Adam Wright as well. So we've got a lot of drivers on very different laps here, all mixing it together. So this is suddenly livened up again. Everybody's right with each other.
Absolutely so. And that's something you have to be able to really get into as well. The fact that all of a sudden you'll have a lot of traffic and people are on different levels. Some cars are battling one another, and it's not always that easy to figure out. We've seen examples of it before this season, I'm afraid. Just seen another situation here. Oh, is that a right tax Paul Gosling while lapping?
Adam tried to get out of it there without slamming on too much or slowing up and losing all of his momentum. And Gosling, well, there wasn't really much he could do either. He had to slow it down because he was going to go into the wall anyway. Tiny bit of contact. Neither of them will be too chuffed about it. Rob Lundgren's just behind these guys in this as well. Him and Michael Tyler are basically an entire lap apart. Sufi still leads right behind Hendrik de Graave. The Simracersworld Esports Team Bravo driver leading outright. But look at this, Hendrik's not letting him through here, and Adam Wright closes completely in just one corner. And I tell you what, if Matthew Sufi had headlights, he'd be flashing them like mad right now, wouldn't he?
Yeah, absolutely so. With the small tricks they can play. Adam Wright's touched it, and so is Paul Gosling in behind. Gotta be careful with this. I think the cars are acting that little bit stranger as well, and that little bit looser as well when they're in the slipstream, which is something that you might not be too used to. Get into that rhythm of just going around for umpteenth time on your own. Here goes Sufi on the inside of De Graave, and I think he's going to make it through this time. Adam Wright follows him straight through.
That was important, that, for Adam Wright. He had to make that work. He had to go with him. He couldn't risk being stuck behind Hendrick for any longer because he's seen how much Sufi's been held up by him up to this point. Now, will we see Matthew make a run for it here? It's 0.4 of a second. All of them so close to the barriers. All of them have hit the barriers at some point throughout this race. Honestly, Adam and Matthew, their gap just, it's like an accordion at the moment. One corner it extends, the next corner it closes back up again.
It's the nature of the circuit as well, that it's just that technical. You see, there's a lot happening with the cars in the course of one corner here. On the banking, it's dives back and forth and up and down here.
Oh.
Sufi's gonna stay up high, and through on the low side goes Adam Wright.
Lovely stuff by Adam. Nice opportunistic stuff once again. I think Sufi maybe thought, I'm not going to really bother trying to defend this one too much. Adam's got the pace at this stage of the race. I'm just going to let him go through. Barnesy 777, which of course is John Barnes, saying that the 77 hasn't been lucky for me this season. Oh, I'm not sure about that one, but I think the 777 is even worse for you, to be fair, mate. But yeah, it's not been the smoothest of rides for Mr. Barnes, unfortunately. To be fair, I don't like triple numbers anyway. But Sufi now already 0.7 of a second behind race leader Adam Wright. There is Michael Tyler in 4th place. And look at this train in front of him here. All these guys on different laps to each other, trying to make something work. Although actually, no, Michael Tyler and Hendrik de Graave for position, of course. Rob Lundgren and Paul Gosling are not for position. There's a few laps between them, and Gosling comes in.
Yeah, indeed, that's a car less to get through on for Michael Tyler. Really seemed to have a good pace advantage before on Hendrik de Graave. Robbie Lundgren almost a lap down. He is still technically on the same lap as Michael Tyler. 31 seconds behind. And Adam Wright 0.2 of a second quicker than Matty Sufi on that last lap on itself. He's already pulled out a second. Gonna see just how that plays on. These cars.
John Barnes, sorry, Hasse. John Barnes has confirmed that he just basically avoided the lapped car on the racing line and hit the wall. So it wasn't contact with the back marker or anything. He just tried to go around him, and unfortunately ended up becoming best friends with the barrier at that point.
That is one bit of rotten luck. Seems to have stretched over a large part of the season. John Barnes, who picked up a win recently. What a deserved win that was indeed. It's been a long time coming for John Barnes. Let's not hope it's going to be as long until he picks up another one, because let's be honest, he's always up there. Now here Tyler and De Graave, still with Robbie Lundgren in between.
Kim Behate with possibly my favourite comment of the day. But
yeah,
it's not broadcastable.
It's certainly not, but it says a bit about the feelings this track can provoke as well with some of these drivers. It's and I think when you're driving these NASCAR races, you know, margins are so small, and And to be honest and to be fair on him, it is such a narrow track indeed, and it's often the width of the track that really decides just how much focus you have to keep. And here, it's just
it's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
There's nothing like Darlington. Nothing at all. With how narrow this place is, you can barely get the cars too wide here. And John says, why did I buy this yesterday? To be fair, the fact he bought it yesterday and he's that much quicker than everyone is great. As Hendrik de Grave goes in the wall, so too does Rob Lundgren. We just need Michael Tyler to do it now. We've got a full house. But John actually saying that he should have just rear-ended the car in front of him and gone through him, because it was like he was braking and it was a 40km/h speed difference. So maybe the back markers, while trying to stay out of the way, not actually helping John in the long run. And obviously, well, he's out of the race now, so a real nightmare for him. On board we go, though, with Michael Tyler. Look at the wonderful shot there. You can see the banking is a lot steeper than it looks, actually, around here. But the most important part of the circuit is where it levels off again on the exit of the corners, because that's the bit that really unsettles the cars the most, isn't it? When these guys are getting hard on the power, straightening up the steering, and the car still wants to turn left.
Yeah, and we've seen it, and you can almost see it as well from this angle, that the car sort of really wants to keep on rotating, and you can really see how it's easy to lose it on that particular spot. Now that the drivers take a low line and a very, very late apex, and I suspect that might just be to avoid that sort of bump there as well on the exit.
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, they look like they're just coming off the ground as well, just about, and all it takes is for the car to just lose a little bit of that traction underneath it, spin up the rears and spike the revs while it's just coming up into the air, and then as soon as that traction comes back down, bang, that's it. You lose all traction even when you're on the floor, and the car wants to spit you left because that's where the momentum already is. So it's a very, very interesting and very scary balancing act, is getting a car around here.
Now out ahead, Adam Wright has further increased the gap down to Matti Sufi. It's 2.1 seconds now, and it's continuing to grow as we approach the final round of pit stops. We had the drivers in on laps 58 and, well, 57 and 58 for the two leaders. Then for everybody else, it's been a little further spread apart. But expect them to come in but within the next, 5 minutes or so, and that might have quite a bit of an effect on the rest of the race as well. With 60 laps to go here, you could also say that the pit window is opening up for them now, and it's whoever is going to take the change first might just get the grand prize at the end here.
Yeah, that's it. I think that now that the pit windows for each driver have been sort of messed with, and they've all, they've done their own thing early on. Some of them have gone late, some of them have gone early. They now are left to their own devices, and it's very difficult for these drivers to remember who pitted how many laps ahead and whereabouts they were in relative terms with each other, because that's what you've got to try and remember as a driver while you go. And if I'm honest with you, it's not something I've ever been very good at. So hats off to the guys that can do it. Into the pits comes Hendrik de Grave, and he is going to come down pit lane at the most reasonable pace possible, get this thing tidied up, and get straight back out there as soon as possible. On board we go again with Matti Sufi. Fantastic sounds from these cars. Wouldn't really get old of that. Wouldn't get old of that, wouldn't get bored of that. It's great to listen to. You can see just coming off the throttle that bit at a time, just to make sure that they do not spin up the rears, understeer and push wide and go in the wall. It's all a big balancing act around here. And Matthew managing that so well at the moment. 2.2 seconds behind Adam Wright, who still continues to lead this race.
Gonna have a shot of the right-hand side of Matty Sufi's car. He has indeed also picked up his Darlington stripe. I gotta say, I'm surprised that there's any readable ads left. Should be just a long stripe of paint stretching all the way around the track from what we've seen so far tonight. Been atrocious indeed here. Michael Tyler is in the pit, so is Robbie Lundgren. Then you gotta wonder just where Tyler's gonna exit in relation to the Grave.
That's the thing in these as well. You never know, because the laps are so short. If you have a pit stop, you're losing multiple laps at a time.
Michael Tyler's had a long stop here, Chaz. He's been in the booth for 40 seconds now. And he might be falling into the clutches of Robbie Lundgren as they exit. That's gonna let the Grave sit comfortably. And third here is Adam Wright and Matty Sufi's pitted in on the same lap. So Sufi wants to settle it on track with Adam Wright here for the course of the last 55 laps or so. Let's see here. Tyler's out. Ahead of Lundgren, but only just. That battle for fourth place is going to be very much alive and kicking here, Chaz.
Well, that's it. Any of them could grab a fantastic result from this. All it would take is just for a tiny bit of misfortune for one of the guys in front. You know, all of a sudden, it'll just go, and that'll be it. You know what I mean? It's instant. When something happens with any of these drivers meeting one another on track, or even a drive-through penalty or something in the pits, the race can change so quickly. And I really I love this sort of racing for that, because they do change so fast. It's not like a circuit race where, well, like a road course, as they call them in America, where you have all of these different corners and a longer lap where you can't quite sort of, I don't know, you can't break free of it and gain like 3 laps per pit stop. You know, you only gain, if anything, a lap at a time. But when you get times like this on a small oval, it's great, because you do gain so much and you can lose so much very quickly, and getting that lap back alone is a very difficult prospect.
Absolutely so, and on a track like this especially. Right, took a little bit of extra time out on Matty Sufi over that pit stop round. The gap's up to 2.9 seconds. And they've seemed close on pace for the entirety of the evening here, Chaz. So it'll be interesting to see whether Matty Sufi is going to be willing to take the risks that'll be associated with closing up to Adam Wright, or whether he's just going to be content with the points that are there in second. Because he isn't getting any advantage in points for the time gap down to Hendrik de Grave. He's 2 laps down, 2 and a bit. Indeed, here he is, but more importantly for him, sitting third at the moment. So if he can see that through, he'll really do his utmost to minimize the points gain for Matty Sufi. And mind you, we've got 2 regular rounds left on the next 2 Mondays, and then the Charlotte 400. I can find someone to step in the broadcaster's role for me. I should certainly love to partake in the race as a driver. Something that has been on the boards before. Never quite happened, but I'd really like to try out not only the next-gen cars here, but also the series that I've now spent 3 seasons commentating on here. It'd be a great way to salute the series.
When would that be? Sorry, the 28th?
Yes. So I believe on Sunday, November 28th.
Bear with. Hold my beer. See whether we can sort something
virtually,
out.
I'm sticking out my arm to virtually
hold my beer. Either way, it'll be really interesting to see how you get on track, to be fair, mate. So we'll see what we can do about making that happen. Speaking of making things happen right now, Mathieu Soufi is getting a little bit closer to the back of Adam Wright. Maybe a bit of traffic to help with that. We've got 3 cars in the pits, which is Paul Gosling, John Barnes and Kimber Haight. Kimber Haight has been in there for nearly 20 minutes, though. Paul Gosling nearly 6 minutes. John Barnes in there for 42 seconds, apparently. Maybe come out after having some repairs done and has gone back in. We currently only have the 5 cars running. Adam Wright, Mathieu Soufi, Hendrik de Grave in 3rd place, Rob Lundgren 4th, and this man here, Michael Tyler, is currently in 5th place. He's still gained 4 spots from where he started. Having a little bit of a blink in and out there for just a second. But still, he has got Rob Lundgren only 1.3 seconds in front, so these two are the closest on track. There is a look back from the Phantom of the Opera Mobile. Hometown, the Phantom of the track.
Hometown is Karlskoga.
Karlskoga.
Which means Karl's Forest in Sweden, yes indeed. Which indeed would translate pretty directly into Karl's Forest. I am no Swede, but our languages are rather close in the end. As most Scandinavians would know, but what I know as well, that look at that advantage. It's absolutely crumbling. Oh, that was from Lundgren. I thought we were riding on with Adam Wright there for a second. And I thought, well, that's going rather quickly, but
I did the same, you know. I was thinking, oh, flipping out. Where's he got this pace from? Rob's decided to become the Phantom of the outside wall. Comes back down. Don't scrape the mask, sunshine. They'll know who you are. Soufi through nice and safely, though. 2.3 seconds off race leader Adam Wright at the moment. And now Rob can actually try and use this to his advantage. He can try and stick with Soufi, see what he's doing, act on his pace in his direction, and see whereabouts he can go. Now, John Barnes has completed his pit stop by the look of it, but he's not moving. I think John is completely out of the race, I'm afraid. We have 40 laps to go and change. 43 in total once Adam Wright crosses the line, which he's about to do right now. To get onto lap 128. Ooh, hello there. Up from the rafters comes Mr. Lundgren. Still, these scary moments can creep up on these drivers by the look of it, Hasse. There's no way that they're out of the woods just because the race is a little bit more in the books, so to speak.
No, by no means are they. It's really not over till the rather large lady sings. And
the fattening British commentator sings.
It's not over till the Swedish Simracer sings. That. But indeed, it is one of those races where you have to keep your concentration at 100% all the way through. There really is no let up here. And I think that's what's been catching a lot of the drivers out as well.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I think this is a circuit that, like we've said multiple times now, you can't just keep your foot down and just floor it all the way around. Every single lap is a balancing act that demands a lot of concentration for you and a lot of determination to make sure that you get it so accurately done. And these guys have been great at that so far. Soufi is now a little bit quicker. These guys pitted on the same lap last time round, lap 115. Soufi is now 1.5 seconds off. I'd argue that he kissed the wall a little bit there and he's lost. Actually, if anything, he's gained a bit of time using that high line. But that's the risk you take, isn't it? You run the low line, the shorter route, but there's more sort of start-stop involved in that, so you've got to sort of light up the rears a little bit more, get on the brakes a little bit harder on the way into the corner, or you can run the high line, but the risk there is that you're closer to the wall all the way around. So it's much like a lot of things in motorsport, really, which one of the reasons that we all love it so much is that just because of general physics, you can only have one thing or another in motorsport. You can either be fast in a straight line or great in the corners. you don't ever get a setup that is always both. And that's just down to the laws of physics. And I think motorsport is so intriguing because of that.
Absolutely so, and it's also worth noting that the Highline is going to be softer and easier on the tires as well in the long run. So if you can keep the run going up there, and if you can keep the momentum better as well, I think that's going to be the way to go, which is what we've been seeing as well. And then a lot of the drivers opting for the late, low apex in turns 1 and 2. That's on the exit of turn 2, of course, in oval terms, because somehow one corner becomes 2. I have yet to really understand the logics of it, but I'll go along with it anyway, and and speak of it as it was completely normal. Anyway, that's something to have into consideration as well. On the super speedways, that's interesting as well. You see the drivers being able to go through basically without changing tires at all, because the wear on those super fast and really steeply banked ovals is just so low that it's not really worth it taking the extra time for a tire change. At least on some of them it isn't. So here, tire changes are all crucial indeed. 45 laps left to race here for our 2 leaders. The gap's about a second from Adam Wright to this man, the 64 machine of Matty Sufi, in this, the 9th round of the SRW NASCAR Next Gen Cup Series. The DynamiXX Darlington 170. There is indeed a link to our sponsor's webpage, that is DynamiXX Race Simulators. There's a link in the description below that we do urge you on to check out, especially if you have a soft spot for really nice, high-quality sim rigs and stuff like that. It's a place that I would call a sim racer's wet dream.
That's one way of putting it, for sure. But yeah, I agree, to be fair. A lot of the stuff that DynamiXX do is phenomenal. They're great guys as well. Really love all the team there, and they've been fantastic supporters of Simracersworld all along, and they continue to be so as we broadcast a lot of our own leagues and organise them as well. Matthew Sufi then on his 137th lap. Be a bit frustrating for him if he was on his 173rd, wouldn't it? He's currently still chasing down Adam Wright, but there is only a second between them now. There's less than that between these pair, though. Michael Tyler, half a second behind Rob Lundgren. Still chasing him down. It's another one of these gaps that really has a lot of an accordion effect going on with it currently.
You wonder if the question or a comment from Behave, it's strange that there hasn't been any cautions triggered. And while you could say that, I think it has to do with the massive amount of apron space that are available and the short amount of time that it takes any car before it will be on that apron space, in which circumstances are that the yellow flag won't come out if the cars seem to come to a stop or a halt or hit the wall or whatever on the apron. So, and adding to that, it also seems that iRacing for some reason is very lenient in terms of what it will allow before it pulls a caution on some tracks, and very strict on others where you can hardly have 2 cars touching without the yellow flag coming out.
Yeah, that's it. Considering how close these guys always run in this sort of racing, it's amazing the fact that that's all it can take sometimes for a caution. Just a little bit of a touch, a lift, an overcorrection, and suddenly these things go bouncing off each other like Skittles or like a big pinball machine or something. It's absolutely bonkers. But we continue to watch Michael Tyler here. He's getting closer to Rob Lundgren. But, nicely picked up, Matthew Sufi is being reeled in, is reeling in Adam Wright for this lead right now. And we've got 29 laps to go.
Adam Wright, that machine looks like it's not entirely got the poise that Matty Sufi behind has. Now, of course, that's just from a look of how the car seems to be behaving. As Adam Wright turns in. Although saying that, he does get a fine run through 3 and 4 there.
Yeah, it's a balancing act again, isn't it? You know, it's staying around 4/10 to 5/10 at the moment. Sufi just looks a little bit smoother in his lines. He seems to know exactly where he wants to put the car lap after lap. Adam Wright seems to go a little bit aggressive sometimes and then not on others.
It's true. It's true indeed. It could also be the fact that that bit of dirty air that you mentioned earlier could be coming into effect whenever you get close.
Yeah, true.
That just easily offsets the car and upsets it a little bit. At least enough that you might become, shall we say, uncomfortable at a track like this, where it takes ever so little for that crucial mistake to be made. It's worth noting as well that it seems to me at least, Matty Sufi is running a slightly safer line. He's keeping that little bit more of a margin to the walls than Adam Wright is doing, and as such I think he might not be prepared to take just as many risks as Adam will. For Adam Wright, this is all for the win. Matty Sufi, this is basically mostly for championship points, and of course a win would be nice as well. Run to the final 26 laps. In turn means we've got about 13 minutes of racing left here for tonight, Chaz.
We do indeed. Not long for Matthew to get the job done. If he is going to get the job done, it's certainly going to be an interesting chase until then. Whether any traffic will come into play, I do not know yet. And this is the other chase further down. Michael Tyler still chasing Rob Lundgren.
As you said the chase, Chaz, I got to think about the British TV show, The Chase, and some of the moments they've had. And there are some incredibly funny YouTube clips as well.
Oh, there are. That is a hell of a chase.
It seems the producers are indeed loving to throw... Now, I've forgotten the name of the host, but he is indeed...
Bradley Walsh.
Yes, that's him.
Oh, he gets terrorised on there.
Exactly.
Absolutely terrorised with some of the questions and answers that come up. Because he has the mind of a child. So all it takes is just for the daftest thing to come up and he finds it unbelievably hilarious.
Well,
Not sure that Adam Wright's going to find this hilarious though right now, to be fair, because Sufi is looking more and more dangerous every single corner. It's not coming down as quickly as it was, but still coming down.
It is, but we're within the margins where I think Adam Wright's going to start pushing with all that he's got. And Sufi, is he going to do the same, or is he just going to sit there? What I've been wondering all along. Michael Tyler looks to be trying to close in on Robbie Lundgren, and he's doing that right now. But it's that accordion effect that you've mentioned as well. Of course, you cannot push too hard on the tire as well. It's only going to take a few laps of turning in that little bit too heavily. You're going to overheat the tires, and that grip is going to go away quickly. Someone touched the wall there. I think that might have been Lundgren.
Yeah. He just... The thing is that as soon as you close up on the brakes and you realise that you stay closed up mid-corner, you can't get ahead of yourself. You can't then continue to push harder and think, right, I've got him. Because like you say, you overheat the tyre and that's it. And then all of a sudden you'll find yourself in the wall and then the gap is gone again. So, interestingly, Kimber Haight back out on circuit again to try and pick up some points. He's got 30 laps to gain back on John Barnes, so he's not going to do that.
Nope.
But still, he'll be classified as finishing, I believe.
Yeah, this is NASCAR, Chaz, so it's just on the amount of laps that you complete. You don't have to see the checkered flag, so I actually don't think there will be anything to gain here for Kim Behate. Now, I'm not entirely certain, so please don't hold me up on too much here, but I think that's how it's going to be. I think that's how the scoring system is made up for these races, reflecting how it is in real life as well here, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the best thing for it. You know, I know a lot of sim racing series where the point systems are, you know, to include everybody and give everyone a chance. The point systems are massive. You know, it's like in Aussie Supercars over in Australia. I do not understand the point system there, but you know, drivers end the series on like 25,000 points, and that's just not. It's not something you can keep up with, in my opinion. I find it very, very difficult to keep my eye on. And it does get similar in NASCAR, to be fair. I remember the days in Formula 1 where you'd get 10, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1. It was ruthless, but at the end of the day, you know, it meant that there was never really a big championship fight with people further down the order potentially spoiling the fun. And I like the F1 point system as it is now. I think that's a fantastic baseline for other series to follow, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's pretty good, I do agree. At least, I think for me, it has to be so that sitting there watching the racing, you have to be able to make out the maths in the head,
definitely.
you know, as you go along. And
100%.
if you're talking thousands,
well.
and if you're talking thousands of points on offer and such, that's not gonna be, that's not really gonna be the case, is it?
No, it's always a bit of a strange one because the maths on the spot is the most important thing to me as well. I think that maybe comes across for us as we're commentators, so we can, you know, figure out if someone's a champion or not. It's nice to be able to say it on a broadcast there and then, rather than be like, oh, well, yeah, he might be champion. We'll let you know at the start of next season, because after the broadcasts are done, that's it. There's no more TV time.
It's true. I might have to fling out my old Texas Instruments calculator and have it ready by the side of me for future usage. Now, just that gap between Matty Sufi and Adam Wright is starting really to come down. As I say that, gets close into one corner, and it seems he just can't really keep the speed. He needs to pick up a big run on Adam Wright to sort of get close enough to get alongside. It really doesn't look all that simple. It's a bit of the critique that this car has been given as well, that it's simply too hard to race. And that's mostly because of the aerodynamics on the car, I believe.
Yeah, it's really changed the way that these cars need to be driven and the way that the drivers need to approach the races. I'm intrigued to see how it goes in the real world in the long run, to see what the drivers make of the ongoing changes. But personally, I think they look great. They certainly look a lot wider and beefier as they did, but they don't look as slippery as they used to anymore, and they're not. And that kind of upsets me a little bit, because I love how lively NASCAR machinery is. You always see them floating sideways. The way that the body isn't even mounted straight on the chassis. You know, if you go back to cars like some of the, I can't remember the name of it now, some of the old Impalas that they used to be, the body is almost at like 10 degrees to the left of the chassis.
Tyler!
Oh, Tyler. Well, in our reminiscing, we missed that. And there's a battle for the lead going on. There it is. 13 laps to go. And suddenly they're thinking, right, these guys are getting boring now. Let's show them a race. Adam Wright having to defend all of a sudden from Sufi. But is Sufi going to overwork these tyres, Hasse? What do you reckon?
Oh, it's a good question. Sufi, who got shown the outside line before, he was going to go for an overtake around there, but it's certainly not him going to be lighting up the tires, taking that high line. So it does seem to me he has that little bit of a pace advantage, but I wonder if it's going to be enough to bring him through in the space of 12 laps here. Mind you, that's about 6 minutes, and you might sitting there thinking, well, that's going to be plenty of time. Well, yes, indeed, but they could also be spending 3, 4, 5, and even more laps side by side if they so decide to really make a race out of it. That is very much a possibility. But seeing Matty Sufi close in more and more here, it looks to be a big ask for Adam Wright. Be able to hang on to the lead here. The 27 certainly being tested at every opportunity now. And he will be all the way to the line now. 10 laps to go, Chaz.
10 laps to go. Getting very close to the end of the race now. That's only going to be about 5 minutes in total. And this is very, very, very close between our race leaders. Adam Wright now, he's just going to be stepping on eggshells. Matthew Sufi is the man in the box seat. He's the one that can try and push, although maybe a little bit too much there. The back end comes around. The car digs in and goes left on the exit when he wants it to straighten up. Now, you said earlier the safer line from Matthew. You can see it there. Adam's going in a little bit deeper, going high up to the wall and then trying to sling it back down again. But in managing that, he is going to be wearing out the tyre that little bit more. Sufi looks smoother turning, stays in that middle lane. A little bit higher that time round, maybe because of the dirty air. But he doesn't go all the way to the bottom there. He's just keeping it smooth. And I think that has been the difference in reeling him back in. And maybe that's why he's got, potentially, we don't know if he's got a bit more tyre to use, but that could be the difference here. It certainly looks like it at this stage. Big moment.
Indeed, and that might just be what Sufi needed to get in there. Oh, he's trying to get the nose in. He's getting no love from Adam Wright, who would love to pick up a win here. I am absolutely certain of that. And it's been a race of attrition like few I've ever seen before. Of course, no fast repairs in this series as well, which does make it all the more hardcore in the end. Really only get that one shot.
As the Boeing backstretch, I've only just noticed that's the name of it, to be honest with you. It's
oh yeah,
the Airbus. I don't know. Not quite sure what we'd have as Airbus on the other side. Either way, 6 laps to go now. Adam Wright still up front, quarter of a second over Matthew Sufi. Rob Lundgren is now 3 seconds clear of Michael Tyler, so he's been able to open that gap back up. Nothing to worry about really there on his part. But you can see there, Kimber Haight staying well out of the way of this lead battle. He does not want to spoil this for either of these guys. I couldn't call how this is going to go, though, Hasse. I think if there is going to be a move, it's going to be because of a mistake from Adam Wright, though, if I'm going to put any sort of guess in.
You know what, I tend to agree. I just don't think Sufi's going to be willing to take whatever risk there might be associated with really trying to push for it. But then again, he might just do it right about here. No, see, lifts off and stays in behind, stays on the high line. And for him as well, I think he thinks he is taking the safe and the measured approach here as well. Could very well be the case. Gap's back up to 0.3 of a second.
So close to the back of him now is Sufi, really putting the pressure on. It's been a very measured drive by Matthew Sufi, a true championship leader's drive. It's not quite a champion's drive because he's not won it yet. Adam Wright doing a sterling job all night as well. Now remind me, Hasse, with a few laps to go, whereabouts is Adam in the championship? I'm trying to load the standings and I have been for the last few minutes, but I can't seem to get the right ones, I'm afraid.
Adam Wright is, well, that's actually a good question. I don't recall, so I'd have to bring him up on screen in order to check it out myself. But he's in the upper part of the field, if I recall correctly, although not fighting for any sort of championship win here.
Yeah. 2 laps to go.
So this
Wright
is
has now opened it up, sorry.
Yeah, but I was just about to say, this is about, last shot, really, for Sufi, because he needs to get in there, and then he needs to sort of muscle his way through. And that, I think, is part of the reason that he hasn't gone for the overtake yet. He's seen it before with other drivers battling around in a way here. That it's if the driver you're battling really decides not to let you in on through and not really to take up the fight, he really has to muscle in through to get his way past, and he's gonna get close. It's the white flag lap now, and it looks to be going in the direction of Adam Wright. I don't believe Sufi's gonna be close enough here as the final corner.
He's going to use all that tyre.
And it's going to be a win for Adam Wright, ahead of Matty Sufi, who extends the championship lead that he's sitting on ahead of this gentleman, Hendrik de Graeve, who does pick up third on the day, and I honestly don't think he's going to be too unhappy about that in the end, given how his race has played out altogether. The man right ahead of him on track actually finishes right behind him, that Robbie Lundgren. Then Michael Tyler, I think, has lost a lap as well, takes 5th place, and with that, I think we can get the proper race results up on screen for a read-through as well. Indeed it is. Adam Wright taking the win ahead of Matty Sufi, and Hendrik de Graeve, Robbie Lundgren, and Michael Tyler rounding off the top 5. And the only 5 cars, I think, running at the end. Oh, that might be a little bit untrue, because Kippy Haight did get out of the pits as well in the end. Anyway, Paul Gosling got 6th in the end, ahead of John Barnes. Another piece of poor luck, I'm afraid, for the 777. Then Kippy Haight, John Tusting, Sam Bentham, and James Hall in the end. So attrition aplenty, Chaz, and a pretty good race in the end. At least we got our money's worth of entertainment here, I think.
Yeah, definitely. You know, the chases were always intriguing around here because no matter how fast a driver is, they can still make an honest, tiny mistake in every single corner around here. And to see that battle come so close at the end was really, really good fun. Adam Wright had to work so hard for that in the end. To me, it looked like Matthew Sufi was going to finish second no matter what, whether it was John Barnes or Adam Wright in front of him. John Barnes, so unlucky partway through that race. I really do feel for him. But Adam Wright took the reins at the top of the field, made that gorgeous move, very well judged move to take the lead, and ended up taking the checkered flag. The checkered flag with a G.
And as Chaz is flabbergasted by the flag, we're about to be ready to throw in new drivers for our interviews here, I think. And we do indeed have a race winner ready on display. It's Adam Wright, ready for a word with Chaz Draycott.
Well, Adam, you certainly had to work hard for that one, mate. I mean, in the end, Matthew was chasing you for so long. I imagine the last sort of 30 to 40 laps of that race felt like more like 140.
It felt like it went on forever. I was watching the laps and he just weren't moving. So, but I thought I had Matthew covered on the long run. But it turns out he's just playing games with me during the race because he had me covered.
Well, it certainly looked like a difficult one, not only to defend, but just to drive in general. I mean, to be honest, this circuit is always raises a few eyebrows to me, the fact that it still gets raced, because it is so narrow and it's so different to any others. But do you think that's a good thing about it, the fact that it presents more of a challenge to drivers? It's like the sort of Monaco of NASCAR, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing because a lot of the NASCAR tracks or the ovals are very similar. I mean, I have no idea what that space is below the apron is used for because you can't go anywhere near that. But it's certainly narrow. I made a couple of passes, but you need cooperation when you do a pass. But then on the other hand, when Matthew was coming up behind me, it felt like he was going to blast past me easy. So yeah. But towards the end, I made a mistake, and he did get alongside somewhat, and I just had to tone it down and stick it in the middle. And then if you're going in the middle down the back straight, you can't really get by, I don't think.
No, it's not really one of those places where you get a lot of slipstream off the car in front. It's not a sort of NASCAR circuit that you approach in a similar way to any others. It really does stand out in a lot of different ways. When you were coming towards having to race on this circuit tonight, is it one that you were looking forward to, or is it a challenge you knew about? What were your feelings going into it?
I had in the back of my mind that it was going to be an interesting one, but I didn't realise what it was until I jumped on for the practice just before the race. And yeah, I jumped in and quickly crashed it into the wall about 20 times and thought this is going to be interesting. So, but yeah, I mean, I suppose that helped because my mindset then going in was just stay off the wall. If I can minimise the amount of times I hit the wall, then I should be in for a decent result. And yeah, it kind of worked, and I had a bit of pace with it as well, so it's good.
Well, it's been exciting to watch you, mate, and obviously a very, very well-deserved win. Very difficult to get a win around here. So before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a quick shout-out to while we've got you?
Yeah, quick shout-out to BSTV Esports and all my teammates. And all the guys who run this league, basically. I mean, it's a good league and he put a lot of time in for it, so I appreciate their efforts, and thank you very much, and thank you for you guys for putting on the broadcast.
No worries, mate. Thank you very much indeed, and we will hope to see you again soon.
Cool, thank you.
There we go then. Race winner Adam Wright. Like I said, certainly had to work hard for that one. Not an easy race to win. Who do you reckon we should grab next up then, Hasse, to have a quick word with?
Well, we're gonna grab them by the chronological order here. We're gonna take our championship leader in for a bit of a chat here. Maddie Sufi, welcome to the booth. Thanks for taking the time to have a bit of a chat here post-race. An attritional race tonight, I think we can say the very least. Is that an opinion you share, having just crossed the line here?
Yeah, hi guys. Well, it's actually my first complete race at Darlington, and I think in the past I never completed more than 10 laps before crashing out. So I'm pretty pleased here to at least be at the finish and in a pretty decent position. My car was super fast on new tires and on the short run. I was faster in practice, qualifying, warm up, so I knew I had the pace. Early stages, John had a good start, and then I just played a bit of a waiting game, and obviously trying to cover Hedrick. And then, at some points I think John crashed out, and then I inherited the lead, and then my tires, in the second stint, I pushed a bit too hard to catch him, I think, and then I made a mistake trying to pass lapped cars and hit the wall, and then Adam could get by me, and I'm glad we could put up a fight in the end there in the closing stages. I tried to put as much pressure as I could on him. At one point he did make a mistake, but I wasn't able to get by him because I was loose myself. So deserving win for Adam. Great drive. He kept it cool under the pressure. So nice job by him, and I'll take second place.
As always, Matthew, it's hard finding any questions to ask of you. It's such a thorough gentleman in these interviews.
Sorry.
But no, don't apologize. It just makes my job all the easier, so I'm not going to complain. All jokes aside, you're now in a very strong position with a 20-some point lead, if I recall correctly, over Hendrik de Graeve, who managed to finish third and limit the losses, you could say, today.
Yep.
But you're still in a strong position coming into these final 3 rounds of action. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like I said every week, I mean every weekend counts. Positions are lost very quickly. You can, if you make mistakes, you can grab penalties and big penalties. So things can change very quickly. The final race will be a very long race. Will be double points race, so anything can still happen. Obviously, it's better than today to extend the lead than to lose, but still a long way to go. So trying to keep focused, and we'll try to finish it off at the end.
Yeah, man. But best of luck for you for the rest of this, for the rest of the races here, and I hope to be able to meet you on track for the Charlotte 400. Any shout-outs from you for tonight, Matthew?
Are you going to take part?
I'm going to try and see if I can find someone to take the broadcast so I can take part.
Oh, okay, that would be lovely.
If everything works out, yes, I'm going to be.
Okay, well, thank you again for the commentary, guys. Although we were a bit of a small grid tonight, some people couldn't make it due to problems. So, but thank you for giving us the broadcast, giving us the show, and catch you next week.
Yeah, mate. Indeed, thanks for stopping by as always, and always a pleasure.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
So that was Maddie Sufi coming in through Chaz, and that leaves us with our third place finisher for tonight. It's a gentleman you know quite well by now, I think, as well, from Flemish Sim Sports, Hendrik de Graeve.
Yes, indeed. It was the biggest mover in the field for today. A bit of damage limitation in the championship. Hendrik, 8 places gained. Despite it being a small field, it still looked like very hard work to get through the pack. Talk us through your race.
Yeah, good evening, guys. Yeah, it was a very, very hard race for me. Like you said, it was damage limitation. I think Mathieu, Adam, and John Barnes were actually in another class this evening, so there was no real touching them. So we just had to see if we can get to the end, which was hard enough, and had a nice fight with Robert. And it was really hard race for me.
Yeah, was that mainly down to the circuit, or was that down to just getting used to these cars still? Because I know that you're most of the way through a season in these cars, but they behave very differently at every single track. You've really got to sort of recalibrate your brain for them, haven't you?
Yeah, for me, it's more down to the circuit. I don't really like these slower tracks. I'm more of a super speedway guy, but it's most down to this track. It's not my thing, and I think that's something that Mathieu is very good on. He likes the speedways, but he also likes this kind of track, so that's very good for him.
Well, it certainly worked out for some of you out there, and I mean, with the misfortunes of others in the field, despite having a bit of a beaten-up car yourself, you still made it through to get some decent points out of it. Going into the last couple of meetings for the championship, though, do you think that you can close that gap and still have a chance at taking the title? Because you never know how these things are going to go, do you?
No, you never know, but we still have to believe that it's possible, of course. But yeah, we'll have to see. I think Mathieu is driving a very strong season this year, and we'll have to see. Anything can still happen. There are also double points in the last race, so yeah, we'll have to see. So the fight is open.
Well, we look forward to seeing how you get on in those last couple of rounds then, Hendrik. Is there anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to while we've got you in the booth?
Well, as always, the team, Kim, and our sponsors, Viraco. So that's about it.
Fair play, mate. Well, great to speak to you, Hendrik. Well done on getting another podium out of this, despite starting near the back of the field. And we will see you next time round. Good luck for them.
Yep, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Cheers, you too. And there we go. Hendrik de Grave. Well, not a bad night, really, all in all for him. I mean, he wasn't too pleased with the circuit. He doesn't really like this place. He's not too confident here. To still finish third and take points away from it tonight with his championship rival only one place in front of him, that's not a bad result, really, is it, if you're Hendrik right now?
Certainly not. It could be much, much worse, everything taken into consideration. So I think he'll be licking his wounds and he'll be figuring out a way to come back stronger in a week's time. And Chaz, that leads me and segues me perfectly into what's coming up here on SRW TV. The next week or so, of course, we've got the Porsche Club of Great Britain series with yourself and Peter Mackay. Coming up on Wednesday. We've got the DynamiXX Endurance Series starting this Saturday, November 13th. 6 hours of sun for it as well. And of course, next week we'll be going to Dover for round 10 of the SRW NASCAR Next Gen Cup Series. Just a bit of a shout out here. Next week indeed, November 20th, that's on Saturday, we got the Belcar Series, 24 hours of Solder, the final round of this virtual Belcar Series season. It's all going to be decided. Indeed, that is not one to miss. With that said, Chaz, it's been a pleasure having you along on the booth. Thank you so much for joining me. We have reached the concluding stages of this broadcast indeed. Thank you all so much for tuning in with us here at Simracersworld TV. It's been a pleasure having you all along. From Hasse, Rømer, and Chaz Draycott. Until next time, take care, have fun, and bye-bye.